ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Welcome you all again for the second day today. Today we are going to enter into a very interesting and very important topic, discover the inner self. Even before we get into it, I would like to say a couple of words about why we need to discover about our inner self. You all know very well, in the modern times, science and technology has made a lot of progress. As we were saying yesterday, man has even controlled all animals in the forest, like even lions and tigers and elephants and whatnot. But he has failed to control his own mind. Therefore, if you very carefully observe our contemporary times, the emphasis has not been given on human values, character, good health, peace of mind, relationships, and these kind of very important aspects of life have been neglected, due to which man, even after acquiring big degrees, is committing suicide, or is ending up with divorce, or is indulging in criminal activities. So therefore, modern people are becoming more interested in the Indian spirituality. People even from the West are coming to India to learn about the spiritual wisdom of India. So you must have heard about the 4 Qs. That is PQ, means physical quotient; IQ, intelligence quotient; EQ, emotional quotient; and SQ, spiritual quotient. If you take care of your body very well, doing some yogasanas or going to gym, going for jogging, then PQ, then one is called as a good animal, because one keeps the body fit. If one is very competent in his field of work, then he can be called as IQ. He has a very good IQ. Then he's called as a good craftsman. So if I am taking care of the body well, I am a good animal. If I am very intelligent in my field of work, I am a good craftsman. And if I am very good in building relationships with people, with family members and colleagues in the office, I am, like we say, people. Then you have a high EQ. Then one can be called as a good friend of many. Then if one has a good connection to God, then he's called as a good saint. He has knowledge of spirituality. So he has high SQ. So if you combine this PQ, IQ, EQ, SQ together, you become a complete human being. But the colleges oftentimes don't teach you about SQ. EQ and SQ are not taught generally. They only focus on PQ and IQ, physical quotient and intelligence quotient. That means, you keep your physique well, like a good animal, and then work on, making money through career, that's all. How to deal with one another in relationships, and how to deal with the Supreme who has created everything, and how to live a life of human values and character and good health and peace of mind and relationships. So, if that is a topic of your interest, then you will find it very interesting today as we enter this topic of discover inner self. As you see here, this is the most fundamental knowledge that Lord Krishna taught Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. The very first thing, ABC, we can say. As the driver drives a car, the soul drives a living body. Just like when you go to an airport, you find a huge plane standing there, and the plane cannot fly on its own. Whereas a pilot walks towards the plane, climbs up, sits in the cockpit, and immediately you see the plane taking off, because a living person has entered the dead plane. Similarly, our body is a dead body, and I, the living spirit, is inside this body. Just as much as I have this shirt, inside the shirt, my body is there. Similarly, inside this body, the soul is there. I am present. Because I am present, I am moving the hands, I am speaking to you. The body is alive. If I leave the body will be called as dead. This is the very first knowledge taught in the Bhagavad Gita. Like you have seen this big JCB, you have seen, which digs huge amount of sand like this and throws. You have seen the gigantic hands. But behind the gigantic hand, you'll find a small cabin. In that cabin is sitting a man who is operating that big gigantic hand with a button. Similarly, in this body, there is a Atma, or the driver of this body, sitting in the region of the heart. He is operating this body, and is different from the body that you see. So, matter or jada is always dead, while soul is conscious. The soul is superior to matter. For example, if I would put a gloves in my hand, and if I am moving the gloves like this, when I am moving the fingers like the gloves will appear to be alive. But the gloves is not alive, but the hand inside the gloves is alive. Now, if I remove my hand, the gloves will fall like this. Similarly, the soul, having entered this body, makes the body appear alive. And if the soul leaves the body is called as dead. So, therefore, if you see in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, you find Arjuna like this. Arjuna was mourning, lamenting. He is actually the CEO of the whole battle. He dropped his Gandiva bow and arrows and said, Krishna, Nayotse iti Govindam uktva tushnim babuvaha. It is said in Bhagavad Gita. He says, Oh Govinda, I cannot fight this battle. I am very depressed. So he put it down. He was stressed. He was depressed. He was lamenting. And the same Arjuna, after hearing Bhagavad Gita from Lord Krishna, what happened to him? See here. He lacked confidence, anxiety, demoralized, stress, depression, all that. So, depressed Arjuna became confident Arjuna at the end of Gita. Stressed Arjuna became joyful Arjuna. You see? And lamenting Arjuna became bold Arjuna. How is it? What is the difference? What is the difference between Arjuna before and Arjuna now? You see? Because he heard Bhagavad Gita, which is what you all are hearing now. Based on the Bhagavad Gita, you are learning all this knowledge. So, if you learn it well, definitely you can attain the same goals that Arjuna achieved. Yeah. That's the beauty of Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is the most commented book in the entire world. You know, great politicians like Dr. Radhakrishnan and Gandhi wrote commentary on it. Great scientists like Einstein and Oppenheimer quoted from Bhagavad Gita. Great, what do you call it, people of literature like Henry David Thoreau, Emerson, they quoted from Bhagavad Gita also. In fact, Shankaracharya says, just like every person of every dharma, for example, Christians have Bible, Muslims have Quran. If you want to say one book that you can carry with you, which contains the quintessence of everything in the Vedic literature, that is Bhagavad Gita as it is. So from that Bhagavad Gita as it is, you are going to learn about the science of the self. So these are the different topics. The very first topic we are going to learn about what is matter and what is spirit, what is jada and what is chetan. Think about a small tiny ant and think about a big rock. The rock is dead, whereas the ant is alive. So this has always fascinated the scientists. What it means to say something has life and something doesn't have life. For example, scientists did a research. You take a nail in your hand, and when you keep it on some wood or something, and then take a hammer and you hit it, pat, you hit it. By mistake, in case you hit the finger, immediately the nociceptors are contracted, and the chemical secretes, and that electrochemical reaction which happens, it is passed through the nerve endings, nerves to the brain, and the brain waves which were flat, like that, there's a big spike which can be seen. At that time, a secondary behavior is seen. Ah, like that, a person shouts. So the scientists wanted to know who is the fellow who is screaming, and who is the fellow experiencing the pleasure or the pain. They wanted to know, is it the brain? Is it the medulla oblongata? Is it the cerebrum? What is experiencing the pain? This has always been very intriguing for the scientists to understand the difference between a living body and a dead matter. Like you can take a bunch of chemicals. All the chemicals in the human body can be taken and kept in one tray, and you take a human being. Why these chemicals don't exhibit emotions like pleasure and pain, happiness and unhappiness, honor and dishonor? I mean, they don't respond to that. This bunch of chemicals, while a human body is responding to that. So it's very clear that there's a difference between matter and spirit. One essential difference, I'll tell you, you can see that. When you are walking on the road, suddenly you see a snake, and immediately there's a perception. What is the perception? You look at the snake on the road, crawling. The second thing that happens is mental activity. Oh, snakes bite. And the snake bites, one may die also. We have the experience, you've heard from people. Thirdly, that's a purposeful action. You will immediately take a stick and hit the snake and kill it, or you may run away from that place. That's a purposeful action. So perception, mental activity, purposeful action. These three types of behaviors can only be seen in a living body. Another example I'll tell you. Say you go to your friend's house, and the friend brings a bowl of gulab jamun, some 4 gulab jamuns floating in a golden liquid. He keeps it in front of you on the table. As soon as you look at it, what is the perception? You look at the beautiful gulab jamun, and then there's a mental activity. Oh, gulab jamuns are very sweet. I like them very much. I have eaten before. It is nectarian. I feel like eating it. Saliva is coming in my tongue. This is mental activity. And what is purposeful action? If your friend tells you, hey, come on, go ahead, take it, then immediately take a spoon and put in the mouth, isn't it? That's purposeful action. So, perception, mental activity, purposeful action. These three symptoms can only be seen in a living body. For example, one man told me, if you are in the forest, sitting under a tree, if a snake crawls over you, you just don't budge an inch or even budge a millimeter also. You just sit frozen like a stone. Then snake won't do anything to you, he said, because it will think you are a stone. Only thing is you should be so confident not to shake your body, isn't it? Which I am sure anybody will have difficulty, isn't it? You may want to escape from the snake. On the other hand, imagine if a snake crawls over this laptop, what is the laptop going to do? It doesn't make any difference to the dead things. So that's the difference between Jada and Chetan. So that's the difference between matter and spirit. You are the spirit. You are aware that you are attending this class right now. One Descartes said, cogito ergo sum, he said, which means I am aware that I am existing. You have likes and dislikes. You have pleasure and pain. You have awareness that you are attending this class now. The dead things, which are called the Jada, they have no such experience. So we are also going to see scientific proofs today, how the soul exists. And we will also see difference between, because some of you may be doing robotics, which is very popular nowadays. We will clearly explain the difference between a living person and a robo. Although robo many times seem to be doing many things what human beings are doing. Nowadays they make a robo of a dog, robo of a cheetah, many things. So man may think that, oh, the robots appear to be doing similar activities like living bodies. We will see the difference and the mechanism of the mind, and what are the practical benefits of knowing about the soul. That's the last part. So, if I ask all of you, who are you? Mostly you may tell me your name, who you are. Now, one Dr. Harry Monson, professor of anatomy, Illinois College of Medicine, he said once he had kept in a exhibition all the contents of a human body. He says these are the contents of our body: 5 pounds of calcium, 1.5 pounds of phosphate, 9 ounces of potassium and sulfur and magnesium and iron, copper, and iodine. This is what your body is made up of. Like that, he is professor of anatomy, so he is saying that. So, and he says the worth of the human body is only rupees 110. He says this is what you are worth. Now think about it. Are you only this bunch of chemicals? Or are you just rupees 110? Think about it. Does it sound like you, or are you something different? So there is something called mechanistic science, and there is non-mechanistic science. Mechanistic science says that you are nothing more than a bundle of chemicals, and your worth is only rupees 110. Ask yourself, one of your friends is going in a Mercedes-Benz car, and he faces an accident. The Mercedes-Benz car is something like 30 lakhs or 40 lakh rupees, isn't it? And your friend's body is only rupees 110, according to this professor. And if there is an accident, will you take your friend to the hospital, or will you take the Mercedes-Benz car to the garage? Think about it. Yes, if I ask you, all of you will say, oh, I will be worried about my friend because I have to save his life. But your friend's body is only rupees 110. And the Mercedes-Benz is 30-40 lakhs. Why will you leave it behind in the road and go? Think about it. That means there is something in your friend's body which is far more valuable than 30-40 lakhs worth Mercedes-Benz car. Otherwise, why do you attach so much importance to your friend's body? Isn't it? Yeah. So mechanistic science teaches that you are just a bundle of chemicals. That's all. Therefore, if mechanistic science, if I tell you to explain what a gulab jamun is, mechanistic science will tell you gulab jamun is a sphere, it's a spherical ball of porosity this much, floating in a liquid of viscosity this much, and the color of the liquid is golden color, and placed in a bowl. Like that, they can give a description, but it cannot tell you the experience of gulab jamun. If you want to know what a gulab jamun is, you take and pop one in your mouth, and you will know what is gulab jamun. You can say that, oh, delicious. That's how you will explain when you eat it. Or when you see a very beautiful painting, you would say, oh, marvelous painting. Or when you hear some very nice song, you'll say, oh, melodious music. And then when you smell a rose flower or a lotus flower, oh, what a great fragrance. So this type of experience of Shabda Sparsha Rasa Rupa Gandha, which means, beauty. Machines cannot decode beauty. No robo or machines can tell you the sweetness of a gulab jamun. They cannot tell you the sweetness of a melodious music. None of these things can be perceived by mechanistic science. Therefore, the non-mechanistic science says that there is something in this body beyond this bunch of chemicals. Yeah. Then what's my real identity? So here is a very famous actress you all know. Just probably a couple of years ago, she passed away in Gulf. So now look at her before death. Look at her after the body is dead. So even after her death, the chemicals are same, but there are no more feelings, no more thinking, no. She can't express any desires, and no movement, no consciousness. All the metabolism stops, and the body is actually taken to the graveyard to be burnt to ashes. So Shankara said this. He said this. Yavat pavano nivasati dehe thavat pritchati kushalam gehe gatavati vayu deha paye bharyam bibhyati tasmin kaye bhaja govindam govindam bhaja mudhamate. You know what he says? He says that as long as the Atma is present in the body, People will come and inquire, Sir, how do you do? And you may say, I'm fine. But once Atma leaves the body, even the family members will be afraid to come near the dead body. And they will, as soon as possible, send it to the graveyard to be burned. The very same people who embraced and kissed the body, they will be afraid to even touch the body. He says, the body becomes abominable, stinking very badly. So the body has no value at all. Even think for a moment, all of you. You know, when there is a hair on your head, sometimes somebody has a long flowing hair, they put shampoo, then like nylon silk hair. The people keep jet black hair very nicely. People very nicely care for it. But later on, if one hair comes in your food, will you like it? Why don't you like it? It's the same hair only from your head only, isn't it? Similarly, ladies, they put nail polish, and they keep showing you, look at my nails, how beautiful it looks, isn't it? But when one of the nail is cut and it comes out of your body, it goes straight into the dustbin, isn't it? Yeah, and it has no more value. Just see. That means why is it having so much value when it is connected to your body? And why does it lose all the value when it is taken off? Similarly, when the soul leaves the body, just like you throw a nail or you throw your hair, similarly throw the body only into the fire. It has no value because the soul is out. This is a very important point. Any of you have been to a fish aquarium? If you see in an aquarium, you will see the fishes are moving with colorful fishes, orange and blue and yellow and golden and green and different colors. They keep moving like this. People can keep watching for even 1 hour also when they go to an aquarium. So what makes it so interesting? But if all those fishes are dead and fallen at the bottom of the jar, nobody will want to watch it. The same fishes. Why is that? Why is that? Because in the fish's body, when there is Atma present, Atma is the most beautiful spark of life. When that is present, the fish has value. But when the Atma is gone, it is fallen on the ground, nobody will want to watch it. Similarly, when you are walking in the road, your boy is walking on the road, will you see a doll in the shop, a doll of a girl, which is decorated by the textile shop people? Or will he see a girl walking on the road? Why is he seeing a girl walking on the road and not the doll? Because the doll has no life, whereas a girl walking on the road has life. When Atma is present, it is attractive. When Atma is gone, it has no more attraction. So that's the difference between Jad and Chetan. Same body, but the soul is gone here. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. O Arjuna, for the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. The soul is eternal, everlasting, primeval, imperishable, like that he says. Like you see this, we see the soul is passing through the body. And finally what remains is the only skeleton. So the body goes from childhood to boyhood to youth to old age, and then only skeleton remains. And then soul is gone. So what is the difference? Body is matter, jada. Soul is spirit. Body has no consciousness. Soul has consciousness. Body keeps changing from childhood to boyhood to youth to old age, but soul never changes. Body is temporary, but the soul is eternal. The body becomes dead, and soul is always alive. You see? Now we all understand the differences now, isn't it? Yeah. So now we all look into the mirror. But you are not what you see in the mirror. This is only like a dress over the soul. Who are you actually? See, in the region of the heart you are sitting here. You are the Atma, the real driver of the bodily car. The Atma is sitting in the region of the heart. And he is also a person. You are the real person sitting in the body is just like a robo, like a machine. And we are sitting inside the machine and driving it, like I told you about the JCB or the car, isn't it? Material viewpoint, people foolishly think we are all just the bodies of matter. And when this body is, we are just a chemical bundle, everything like that, the mechanistic point of view, people think like this. This is a very superficial, like even cats and dogs think like this. They can't have a better understanding than this. But how are the living bodies being powered to move and think and speak and act? For that, we have to know the spiritual understanding, spiritual point of view. We are not the material body of flesh and bones. Who are we? We are the spirit souls encaged in the material body. And the soul never dies, even though the material bodily machine stops to function. The soul lives, just like, for example, you have a cycle, bicycle, which you used in your school days, and now the cycle has become old. You throw the cycle and you take a bike. Similarly, the soul also leaves one body and accepts another. When you were a small kid, you had a tricycle. When you went to school, you had a bicycle. When you go to college, you have a scooter. When you go to company, you'll have a car. The vehicles are changing, but the driver is same. Like that, the Atma also changes bodies. Yeah. Just like the bird trapped in a cage, the soul is trapped in the body made up of 5 elements. But unfortunately, the whole world is, busily um, fulfilling only needs of the body. Just like, think about it. You have a car. You have to put water in the radiator. You have to put air in the tire. You have to put petrol in the car. All that is all right. Similarly, in our body also we put water. We also, we also breathe. We put air, isn't it? Uh, Car has four wheels. We have two hands and two legs. So yes, for the car you are putting everything. That is true. But for the driver also you have to give another type of food. You can't feed the driver you can't feed the petrol to the driver. You have to give him another type of food. Similarly, the food for the soul is classes like what you are attending just now, on Bhagavad Gita, on chanting of God's names, attending classes like this, going to the temple, bowing down to God. All these things are food for the soul. The soul will get nourished by it. The intelligence will get nourished by it. Yeah. So till now we discussed about the first one. Now some scientific proofs I will show you. Yeah. See here. When a person dies, like here, old lady has died, all the family members are coming and crying. So they all are saying, "Oh, he has passed away or she has passed away." Now, who has passed away? The body is still very much there. The soul has passed away out of the body. Although they see the same person, they all understand some very important person in the body has left the body, the soul. It's a common sense thing. Like you see, the man and the woman, when they see a rose and appreciate, or when they see nature and appreciate, they see the morning rising sun. That is different. Whereas the dead matter, you can actually make a computer or a sensor say that I see red light. It is basically programming. You can even make your computer say good morning. If you program it to say good morning, even when you return from abroad in the night, the computer will say good morning. It will say that's the only thing it knows. So these are all like object identification machine. They all just mechanically do what you input into them. So therefore, sometimes you may be fascinated by AI, isn't it? Artificial intelligence, because you see, automobile problems can be troubleshooted by artificial intelligence, devices. Similarly, AI does many things, but actually, what is AI? If you see, some of you in the field of computer science, you will know very well. A group of 20, 25 automobile engineers sit together, and they all give their best of their know-how, put it on the table, and they assemble everything together and feed it into the computer. So I will not agree the word AI. I will call it BI, which means borrowed intelligence. Don't call it artificial intelligence. It is simply borrowed from experts. And the same is true for the chess playing also. So machine can't do all these things. They practically man gives input, and based on the input the machine functions. So therefore the man is a conscious entity. Even if you drive a automated car, behind that automated car there is a conscious living person who is actually controlling that car. So Dr. Michael Sabam has done if you put Dr. Michael Sabam in Google search, you will get it. Or even if you put near-death experience, you will get a lot of Google searches nowadays. All over the world, there are more than 25 universities offering degrees on consciousness studies nowadays. So the knowledge of the soul and being different from the body is becoming very, very popular all across the globe. So what is the near-death experience? Like somebody faced a terrible traumatic accident and admitted in the hospital. He's about to leave the body. At that time, he may leave the body or he may survive. So, in such a stage, a person's soul goes out of the body in the top. From the top, he is looking at his own body. At the time, the nurses and all may be operating the body and they're talking to one another. The brain wave shows flat. Still, a person can clearly know everything that they are speaking because the soul is hearing it. So, a lot of research has been done. He is a cardiologist professor in Emory University Medical School. He has done so. He has established this fact that near-death experience has multiple examples across the globe to show that somebody survives the death and he's seeing the body from our point outside the body. Yeah. So there are so many books you can see that. Yeah. So many books are available in the market now about this. Who is going out of the body? The soul is going out of the body. This is Dr. Ian Stevenson. This is another name you can put in the Google search, you will get it. Ian Stevenson. He is a professor from the University of West Virginia. He has given more than 3,000 case studies of spontaneous reincarnation memories. So, what is reincarnation? Punarjanma. Punarjanma means, in TV also you must have seen, in newspaper you must have read, people recollecting their Purva Janma, previous life. That means you take set A, you take set B, there's an intersecting element between the two. Right now he has the body B and he is remembering about body A. There has to be an intersecting element. And what is the intersecting element? That is the soul, Atma. Atma was there in the A body, now Atma is in B body, and in B body he is telling everything about A body. I have given an example also. See, so many books on reincarnation available in the market. Hundreds of books now. And more than 3,000 case studies of people recollecting their previous lives. We have given an example also later. So Dr. Ian Stevenson says, even the phobias are related to the mode of death that a person had in the previous life. For example, this lady in the previous life, she died by drowning in a swimming pool. So in the next life, she develops a fear for water. Wherever she sees water body, she is scared. She doesn't want to go near water. Similarly, somebody was killed with a knife. So these people will have a phobia for knife. Similarly, somebody was shot by a gun. The next life, as soon as they see the gun, they will really be shivering. So Dr. Ian Stevenson found it was true. People who died with a gun before, now in the next life they have shown phobia. Here you see these twins. So how are the twins born? You all know very well. Genetically they are same, as you know very well, because only one egg splits into two. So then, although they look alike, is their behavior alike? Is their attitudes alike? Is their natures alike? No. Many of you may be knowing twins who look exactly same due to the genes, but they have completely different behavior. Therefore, Ian Stevenson says two different souls have reincarnated in two different bodies. Therefore, even the twins don't behave alike. So that is another proof he gives, although genetically they may be same. So now I am going to show you a video. You can watch it very carefully, of reincarnation by one boy called James. This is actually taken from the Discovery Channel. Discovery Channel, as you know, they bring up many scientific things. So you can see this scientific presentation on reincarnation. Sound is coming?
They have the same name and boyish good looks. James M. Houston, raised in the Midwest. James M. Leininger, a young boy from the Bayou.
Whoa! There's something in the eyes. It's undeniable.
That's not all they share.
Somehow James Houston's spirit has affected my son, either through reincarnation. I don't know how it happened.
I can make the Japanese easy as pie.
And every night he slept with his G.I. Joe action figures, which he named.
That's not a bomb, that's a drop tank.
Bouncing about in the cockpit, James was flying high. That night, their world would change forever.
He started having the nightmares, and that was my first indication that there was something wrong. It was a panic-stricken, terrorized screaming.
Over and over again, James had the same terrible nightmare, 4 to 5 times a week. He was too young to explain the dream, but he could draw.
Bombing ships, you see men parachuting. Here's another one where planes are dropping bombs.
Help me.
he would just be crying. He'd say, airplane crash on fire, little man can't get out. He laid on his back and kicked up at the ceiling, and he goes, Mama, the little man's going like this. And he laid on his back and kicked his feet up. The little man's going, ooh, 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 can't get out. And I said, well, who's the little man, baby? And he goes, me. I thought Bruce and I were just going to faint.
They questioned, what kind of plane?
Corsair.
Why did your airplane crash?
My plane was shot down.
Who shot your plane?
He looked at me like I was a village idiot. He said,
The Japanese. I kept thinking, where is he getting this? I was a stay-at-home mom, so I know that there wasn't anything that he was being exposed to.
Not exposed to in this life, but perhaps, just maybe, somebody else was. Decades earlier, James Houston grew up with the same insatiable fascination with airplanes. He became a naval fighter pilot and fought in World War II, declared missing and presumed dead.
where did he take off from a boat?
Do you remember the name of your boat? He said Natoma.
Found several thousand hits on the word Natoma.
The USS Natoma Bay launched into battle headed for Iwo Jima in the fight for Leyte Gulf.
It's the biggest naval battle in the history of the world.
Leo Pyatt served on the ship. From his home in Ohio, he organizes the Natoma Bay reunions. That's how Bruce found him.
I wanted to disprove it.
He asked a few questions about, did I know some of the people? Oh, yeah, I remember those people. And so he got very quiet.
It was all real. The people and places James described actually existed. And remember those G.I. Joe dolls that James named? Turns out, 3 men with the same names, first and last, served on the Natoma and were killed in action. James said they greeted him in heaven after his crash.
I'd always asked him, do you remember what your name was? And he always said James. But his name is James.
Yes, there was a Jim Houston, a rather large shell, just hit him in the engine, and it burst into flames and went down.
They showed Leo the drawings.
He was right on the nose. I'm sure, in my mind, that he was there.
Serious?
He'd never met Bob Green.
No, he'd never met him before. She wasn't my oldest sister. I had an older sister than that. And I said, you did? Who was that? And he goes, Ruth. I mean, Ruth.
Eddie, it's amazing to describe how he would feel that way, but he does. He considers me his sister.
But does she consider James her brother?
I think it's probably a reincarnation of my brother.
Suzanne Stratford, Fox 8 News.
So you all saw it now, isn't it? About James. So I took this from Discovery Channel because many of you might have seen many other movies in Discovery Channel, but this is a movie on reincarnation, you see. Here is another example, a case study of Dr. Ian Stevenson, one of the 3,000 cases. Here is a little girl called Shukla. She also, when she was a small little girl, she remembered in her previous life, her name was Mana, who lived in a district called Batpara district in Ratlam. So she recollected, she said, I had a small kid called Mino, she said. And she used to put small dolls, in a cradle and then move them, saying, Mino, Mino, she used to say that. So then father was wondering, then he said, okay, let's take her to the place where she claimed she was existing before. So when they went to the village, immediately Shukla could recognize the place very easily, and she led the whole party of people who came with her, and she showed the direction straight to the house, and she exactly showed that is my husband Haridhana Chakravarti, that's my father-in-law Amritlal Chakravarti. She told and her husband's 2 brothers Ketu and Karuna, she showed 30 different truths. She spoke exactly. She said, go to the upstairs, you will find a steel trunk. I have kept on blue sari and yellow sari, she said. They went to the top, they opened the trunk, they exactly found those saris. So, in this way, you'll be amazed how she recollected so many things, which all of them turned out to be true. So, now, here you will find famous scientists speaking on reincarnation. See what Benjamin Franklin says. Finding myself to exist in this world, I believe that I shall in some shape or other always exist. That means even many scientists have appreciated this fact about transmigration. See, Socrates says, I'm confident that there is truly such a thing as living again and living spring from the dead, he says. So now, difference between a living person and a robot. See here. Here are some judges watching a drama.
I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore. I don't know what else to do. Tell me what to do.
So now in the video he's also taking video of the drama. It doesn't have any feelings at all, isn't it? Whereas these judges who are watching, they can make assessment of the actors. They also can have feelings, isn't it? If you see, the lens and the camera is equal to eyes of the judges. The camera has no experience, whether they have experience. It has no emotions. They have emotion, elation, sorrow, anger, all that. It has no consciousness. They have consciousness. This is what makes a living body different from dead machines. Like one time in television they showed one robot was ringing a bell in the left hand and doing Aarti for Balaji, moving the hand. Some farmers were amazed. Hey, look here. Robot is performing Aarti for Balaji. They have made a modern man has made a human being, they said. When I saw that, I laughed at it because, to bring about rotary movements and linear movements using a microprocessing device is nothing. Any Tom, Dick and Harry can do that. So it appears like, it's performing Aarti. Actually, it has no emotion. It has no consciousness. It has no feeling. Whereas when you are going to Balaji temple, you are worshipping the Lord, you have feelings, you have devotion, you see. That's what makes you living person different from the dead robots. So one scientist asked a question to Prabhupada. Swamiji, is the body not a very complex machine? Then what is the need of talking about the soul? So Prabhupada said, he asked the question, does your car grow? Is there a male car and a female car that you can unite and produce a baby car? Can you make a desktop computer and a laptop computer and make a palm-top computer? Can you make that? Machines cannot unite and reproduce. It's just not possible. And therefore, you will see, if any of you know what a CNC machine is, computer network control machine, it has got a CPU, we also have intelligence. It has got linear and rotary movements, we also have movements in our body. But a CNC machine cannot run by itself, it requires a living person to operate it. Similarly, the Atma is a living person who operates this body, which is also similar to a CNC machine. So, you will see a living body undergoes 6 changes. And we will show what are those 6 changes, we will show you. And it can reproduce. And it has consciousness. These are 3 specific symptoms of living bodies, you will see. Like here you see the 6 changes. First, we are all born in this world. And then the body grows. And there is a maintenance, and then there is production of byproducts, and then dwindling of the body, one becomes old, and then death. These 6 changes happen in any living body. See, the flower is blossoming in the morning, dried up in the evening, isn't it? Similarly, you will find the 6 changes happen everywhere. Yeah, as we showed you. Now let us see the mechanism of the mind, which is very necessary. It's a very, very important concept that I'm going to touch just now. In your daily life, you will see this. See, the soul is covered by a gross body made up of earth, water, fire, or ether. Earth means all the solids in the body like flesh and bones and all that. Water means all the liquids in the body like blood, water and all that. Fire means the Jatragni or the heat in the belly for digestion and everything. And air means, as you all know, there are 10 types of airs, 5 are prominent. Prana, Pana, Vyana, Udana, Samana, Vayus. And ether means a space and sound. So this is called gross body. And inside the gross body, there is subtle body, just like you all wear a shirt outside and banyan inside. Similarly, you have a gross body outside, which you can see. You can show this. This is gross body, which you see. And a subtle body is inside, made of man, buddhi, ahankar, mind, intelligence, and ego. Mind is like a hard disk, and intelligence is like a CPU, which makes decisions. So intelligence is a decision maker. Mind is a storehouse of your experiences, thoughts, feelings, likes and dislikes. They are all stored in the mind. And false ego actually connects the soul to the body. Ahankar, we call it. And the soul is the white one you see inside. So in this world, you will see all of us are looking for three things in this world. You are looking for knowledge. Therefore, you go to schools and colleges, isn't it? From LKG, UKG, first standard. Why do we go to schools? Because you want knowledge. Everybody is knowledge seeking. Like we say, no? Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. These are the three needs we all have. For example, if you keep a plant in a dark room and open the window, it will go towards the window because it goes from darkness to light. Similarly, we want to go from ignorance to knowledge. So we are all knowledge seeking. Secondly, we are happiness seeking. Everybody is trying to become happy in this world. We want to increase our happiness more and more. And we don't want any sufferings at all. And thirdly, none of us want to die. You will see that when a bird in the tree, you take a stone to hit it, it will fly away. Similarly, you cannot catch a monkey, a simple fly, with your hand also because it escapes, because nobody wants to be killed. Everybody tries to survive. Which means we want to live eternally. So that is called eternity, knowledge and ananda. Three things are mentioned. That is Atma. Atma has these three things innate in it. Therefore, we are looking for these three things. Once you discover your soul, then you will experience such chit ananda, eternity, knowledge and bliss always. You will never be afraid of death. You will always be in full knowledge, and you will be in full ananda, happiness also. Yeah, this is called gross, and subtle body is called subtle. Yeah. Now, intelligence is a decision maker, mind is a storehouse of thoughts, and these are the five senses. And the senses give inputs to the mind. All the five senses give inputs to the mind. Yeah. Now, this I already showed you yesterday. That will be easy for you. The five senses are horses, and ropes are the mind. Intelligence is the driver, and the Atma is the passenger. Yeah. Now, interesting thing is going to come just now. Lord Krishna is telling, Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenat vaipatmana jitah anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat. He is telling Arjuna, if one has conquered the mind, mind is your friend. If you haven't conquered your mind, mind is your enemy. Like here you see, mind is controlled, mind will be your friend. Mind is not controlled, mind will be your enemy. Just like, for example, in a garden also, if you don't trim the plants, they just grow unevenly this way, that way, in different directions. It doesn't look good at all, isn't it? If you don't trim with a scissor every day. In the same manner, you will also see if a flood is not controlled, it causes big damage. Yeah. So you will see by proper self-restraint, great good happens. Like a flood, if it is controlled, you can make a dam, and the dam can be utilized well. Similarly, singers also avoid ice cream in order to be able to sing well. Even those who wish to join IITs, from 8th standard, they work very hard, preparing for IIT JEE exams, isn't it? They also undergo self-restraint. It's an undeniable fact. So in the mind also, we should not allow the mind to wander hither and thither, but we have to restrain the mind and allow it to flow only in the correct direction. So therefore, mind is compared to a knife. Is knife good or bad? It depends on the use, isn't it? Here is a surgeon. He can actually do the best utilization of the knife. On the other hand, the knife can actually be used by a murderer to kill somebody. The same knife. Similarly, mind can do good or mind can do bad, depending on whether you restrain it or not restrain it. So, what kind of things do you feed into your mind? It's called garbage in, then garbage out. Good in, good out. So the choice is yours. So if you feed what you feed, like yesterday and today, you all are feeding in good message, sublime message, divine message, so which will actually bring out the angel in you. But if you feed garbage in, then it will bring the animal in you. So we all have an angel and animal in us. We all have a Hanuman and a Ravana inside us. So you want to bring out the Ravana outside, or you want to bring out Hanuman outside? Choice is yours. So therefore, we have to give the correct inputs. The books that you read, like if you read Bhagavad Gita, you are enlightening yourself. What type of movies you watch, what type of music you hear, what type of friendships you keep. These are the things that decide your mental makeup, your scripts. So therefore, one has to be very carefully. If you make a friendship with those who are eager to learn Bhagavad Gita, like you find in this assembly today, then you are making the right type of friendship. Birds of the same feather flock together. And if you are hearing devotional music, it will be elevating. If you are hearing 120 decibels raucous music, it will actually shake up your biological system. And if you are watching blue films, that will bring out the animal in us. If you are watching devotional films, it will awaken the devotional sentiments in us. So we all can actually design our mind to become healthier rather than become ill-motivated, you see. Here is an example I am giving you. Mind feels. What he feels? I am an engineer. I should know how to at least hold a cigarette. Mind says. But what? And smoking makes me feel cool, as they say in the advertisement. Actually, advertisements say they put a waterfalls and they put a boy with a girl, both of them smoking, and they say feel cool. How ridiculous it is! You are putting fire inside your mouth, and how can you feel cool? They are simply making a fool out of you, isn't it? Here you see, intelligence says this. No, that's a bad habit. It's not good for you, intelligence says. And also your parents won't like to see you doing this. You may become addicted to it. Don't get into the wrong track, you see. Therefore, we have to strengthen the intelligence to walk the right path like this. So, in this way, there is always a tug of war between mind and intelligence. Mind says, hey, quickly cross the road. It's getting late for my class. But intelligence says, wait a minute. Cars are moving very fast. If you rush across the road, you may never reach the other side. So better you wait for a moment, see the either side of the road, and then you cross. In this way, intelligence gives proper guidance. So therefore, we should study Bhagavad Gita and strengthen our intelligence. Yeah, the last thing, we are coming up, practical benefits. The first benefit of knowing about the soul is, you can see here, sometimes people claim to be, I am Christian, I am Hindu, I am Muslim. They have wars because of bodily concept of life. They identify with the superficial body. Whites and blacks also have had big battles. Rich and poor also. Or capitalists and communists, isn't it? Educated and illiterate. Beautiful versus ugly. So in this world, if you see the external body, we are surely going to make differences and have terrible fights. These are the things that divide us in this world. Like Germans and Jews, isn't it? The German Hitler wanted to kill 10 million Jews, you see, because of racism. It's all due to body. On the contrary, you will see, this is bodily consciousness. What unites us? See, Europeans, Chinese, Americans, black people, all of them are singing and dancing together. I can tell you my personal example. I was in Calcutta 2-3 years ago. In ISKCON, we were celebrating the 50th Golden Jubilee year. 120 countries across the globe came under one roof in Calcutta. So our Calcutta president wrote a mail to our Prime Minister Narendra Modi saying that, sir, we have seen that your name is in Guinness Book of World Record. You have brought 105 countries in the past. So now we are bringing 120 countries. We were a little doubtful whether can we break your record. Is it not an offense? So we wanted to check with you. If you say don't bring so many, then we'll bring 104 so that your record will remain. So immediately the same day, Narendra Modi ji replied back saying that I am proud of you that you all are able to bring 120 countries to India under one roof of Indian map. You are all having a Harinam Sankirtanam on the road in Calcutta. I was also a part of it. I took part in it also. So in the front they were carrying a very big Indian flag and walking, doing Harinam Sankirtan, and all the people were carrying one flag in the hand of their own country. Just see, this kind of singing of the holy names of the Lord has united the whole world under one umbrella. So in this way, spirituality unites us and bodily consciousness divides us. So why do we feel universal brotherhood? Because we know there is one God in the center, about which you will learn in the next session. And all of us are children of one Supreme. And then you see them all as brothers and sisters. You have no enmity towards anybody. Yeah, it's soul consciousness. We know that all the bodies are superficial dresses, but inside the body, the soul is similar, one in quality. Pandita Samadarshinaha. You see like that. Rising about inferiority complex. See what this fellow is saying. Oh, I am black, I am short, I am ugly. Will anybody look at me? I have no talent in sports. I am from poor family. Life doesn't seem worth living. He says, because I am not like any of the great heroes. So he's feeling inferiority complex, thinking about the body. I am black, I am short, and all those things. Whereas here you see what he says. I am not this body, but a pure spirit soul, and I have abundant potential. The soul is always divine. My heart is full of love, joy, serenity, compassion for others. So, if you see yourself as soul, you will feel very confident. If you see yourself as the body, look in the mirror, then one can feel inferiority complex, you see. Because Vedas teach that all souls are divine. Like rainwater coming from the sky is always pure. When it touches the ground, it becomes impure. Similarly, the souls are all divine, but they are all trapped in external bodies and minds where there is acquired bad qualities, which can actually be cleansed by proper process. Yeah, see this fellow, what he's thinking? Oh, everybody is selfish. Just see how he is not cooperating with me. I feel lonely and cornered. I think I also should learn to become selfish and harsh and arrogant to survive and grow in this world. So he's thinking like that. He thinks that everybody is aggressive. I should be aggressive also. He has no wisdom that everyone is a part and parcel of Supreme. So here you see, instead of blaming my friend for being non-cooperative, let me learn to help him and be more kind and courteous with him. Hopefully he will change. Unless I set a good example, what's the point in demanding the same from others? So tolerance, patience, considering everyone to be potentially good. See, one time Gandhi, you all know Gandhi very well, He just wears a specs and no kurta also, only a dhoti. Once he was sitting in a ship, one officer thought, hey, this Gandhi is a humbug. He's freaking out. I will make him angry now. So he drew some pictures of Gandhi looking like a monkey. And he put a pin and went down and gave the pages to Gandhi and said, I'm giving you something very valuable, keep it with you. And then he was watching from a distance. And then he again came down and asked Gandhi, where are those papers I gave you? Gandhi showed the dustbin. I have thrown it away. He just showed the dustbin. The man became angry now. He said, why did you throw it there? I told you I'm giving you something important. And Gandhi opened his purse and showed that pin. This is the only thing I found important and I kept with me, he said. And he was very coolly, he told that. Because, you will see that great personalities who know about the soul always have a positive and cheerful outlook towards life. See this fellow, what he's saying. I have put millions of US dollars in Swiss bank account so that even my son cannot touch my money. Now whether I am behind bars or moving around in cars, I have no worry. It's all my money. Ha ha ha, he says. It's a fact actually. One politician, he was afraid that his son will take away his wealth. So he put in the Swiss bank thousands of crores of rupees. When he came back, his son called the police and put his father behind bars. It's a true story. Although father was behind the bars, he was only having satisfaction that my money is in Swiss bank. My son cannot touch it. Just see how greedy it makes in this world. On the other hand, here you can see here, look at the cows. They're suffering without food. Let me arrange some grass for her. Because every living being is like my brother and sister. Every creature deserves to live. These people have, so once you know the soul, you feel a sense of social responsibility also towards other members in society. So here is a summary. So we learnt about the matter and spirit. Then we learnt about the scientific proofs I showed you. Then we learnt about how the difference between robo and a living person. Then we learnt about my mechanism of mind, and we learnt about the practical benefits. So now I will show you the mind map now, and then conclude my session. This is the mind map. So I can make it bigger, and then I'll take you through one by one. You can see this is the introduction and driver car analogy. Why should I study about the soul? I told the example of Arjuna. Arjuna heard the knowledge of soul and became cheerful. the depressed Arjuna became confident Arjuna. So every one of you can study Bhagavad Gita and become confident in your lives. Then this is the second thing we learned. I am a matter of spirit. Then who are you? You are not a bunch of chemicals. Your worth is not just 110 rupees. You are actually the driver of the bodily machine. And then we showed you that the cinema actress, beautiful body, and then how when the soul left the body, how she became ugly and it meant for just to be burnt in the fire, isn't it? The difference between body and, matter and soul. We saw that. Body is just matter. It's not conscious, it changes. Whereas the soul is spirit, isn't it? It is conscious, eternal and alive. And then we showed what is spiritual viewpoint, what is material viewpoint, that is non-mechanistic and mechanistic, isn't it? Yeah. And then after these two things, introduction and matter of spirit, then we came to scientific proofs. I showed you from common sense, from consciousness and camera and all that we showed, NDE, OBE, outer body. I didn't tell you about outer body experience. Actually, Reader's Digest published a book called as Into the Unknown. In 1996, I had read that book. I saw one interesting thing there. They put a man on the bed, and on the loft they kept some objects, round object, triangular object, square object and all that. They told this man to come out of the body and go up and see and come back and then draw those objects, pictures. He exactly has drawn what objects he saw on the top of the loft. So they have established proofs of the soul coming out of the body and then perceiving things and coming back into the body. So there are many articles like that about outer body experience also. Then I told you about reincarnation research by Dr. Ian Stevenson, phobias, and the twins proving that two souls have entered into two bodies. Fighter pilot James, isn't it? And then different scientists saying. And then we also discussed about the difference in living person and the robo. Yeah. And then the three major differences in living body and robo. 6 changes in the living body, reproduction and consciousness, thinking, feeling, willing. Okay, then the last thing. The mechanism of mind also, competition between the mind and intelligence. Once you strengthen the intelligence, you will not be troubled by the mind. So GIGO, good in, good out. And take care that you give good scripts through the books, movies, friends and music. And then finally, we studied about the gross and subtle body. And then the practical benefits, universal brotherhood, divine and demoniac nature. So we have to cultivate divine nature. So these are the different things we saw today. Thank you all very much. Now let's take questions for a while. I think he will read the questions, I think, for me.
Hare Krishna. So we would like to thank Hrishikesh Radheshyam for very meticulously and scientifically explaining all of us concept of soul. So just before question answer session, I just do some announcements that we have a link on which you can, if your questions are not answered, then you can use that link to type your question and eventually it will be answered through mail or phone. And you can even type now your question in chat box. And one more thing, that every day we have before the session, whenever we have session, we have 15 minutes very interesting quiz for all of you. So you can participate in that quiz. And the timing of quiz will be 6 o'clock to 6:30. And just immediately after that, you can attend the session. So I start with the questions. So first question. Triom. Are microbes present in dead bodies not considered to have spirit in them? If so, it is also life from them.
A microbe present in a dead body, actually they come to live on the dead body like a parasite kind of thing. After some time they'll go away. They will not be there. Like in this body also, right now all of us will see there are thousands and thousands of living bodies are there, but there is one predominant soul which is you. Like in a house also, when you are living, you are the owner of the house, you are paying rent to the house, isn't it? But then rats are also living, cockroaches are living, ants are living, in the same house. Similarly, there are many parasite type of living beings which may be living, surviving on the body, but according to your karma, you have got this body. You are the predominant soul in the region of the heart. So therefore, this body is karma bhumi given to you. So at the time of death, when the body falls off, many krimis, germs may be there for some time, but they are different from the body, and they are not the predominant soul. The prominent soul has gone already to the next destination. Next question.
Next question from Priyom. But AI has started learning better day by day.
What is that?
Is related to AI.
Yeah. What is the question?
AI has started learning better day by day.
No. Learning means, what is it learning? Who is learning? It's just a joke. Actually, it is nothing but collective intelligence of intelligentsia of the humans who are living humans. I already explained to you with an example. I told you, for example, automobile troubleshooting. For example, 5 years ago, I had one AI package. 5 years ago. Now, 5 years later, as many human beings have become very smart human beings, have come up with more information on automobile troubleshooting, and I add to the existing AI. Can you call it as AI is learning better? It is simply borrowed intelligence, nothing more than that. It is not having its own intelligence. Yeah, next question.
Next question from Jay Nalia. Sir, why do some people remember their previous lives but some not at all?
Actually, when the soul leaves one body and goes to the next body, by God's arrangement, we are made to purposefully forget the previous body. Why? Because in the previous life, imagine if somebody was a cow taken to the slaughterhouse and butchered. Such a painful, traumatic experience. If it is remembered in the next life, you can't live peacefully in the next life. Or somebody might have died in a car accident or something like that. So they generally don't remember the next life. Like we heard about James remembering the plane crash, isn't it? So generally 99% of the population doesn't remember. But in this day and age, some people are able to remember by God's grace. Probably God wants to release the secret through some 3,000 people so that whole world will come to know about the existence of soul and soul's difference from the body. Without God's arrangement, nobody can remember that. Yeah. Next.
Now the next question. Sir, what is meant by false ego?
Yeah, false ego means ahankar, to think that I am this body made up of flesh and bone and stool and bile and mucus sputum, urine and all these things, or I am the body made up of chemicals. To think that I am this body, that is called ahankar. Like for example, somebody is going in a Mercedes-Benz car. He is seeing a rickshaw driver going in the front. He says, "Hey rickshaw, move aside," he says. Because he thinks I am Benz and he is rickshaw, he thinks. Neither is he Benz, nor is that person rickshaw. He is Benz driver and that fellow is rickshaw driver. But he is thinking because of ahankar that I am, this is my car, so that's called ahankar. He is identifying with his own car. So that is actually illusion. That's called the false ego, we call it. And true ego means what? I am Atma, different from this body, and I am actually a tiny part and parcel of God. I am a child of God. This is correct. True ego, we call it. So we have to give up false ego and come to true ego. Yeah. Next.
Next question from Sudarshan. Suicidal cases and accidental cases, is this death natural? I mean, it also happened by the God wish, like Vibhishan.
What is this, man? It's not very clear.
Like Vidhi Vidhan, sir. Like Vidhi Vidhan.
Reading is not clear actually. I am not able to understand your question.
Suicidal cases and accidental cases, is this death natural?
No, it's not natural death.
It happened by God wish, like Vidhi Vidhan.
Not clear. Voice is not clear. It's I can hear a loud sound, but no clarity in voice.
He is asking, is suicidal cases and accidental cases arrangement of God?
No, they are not arrangement of God. Actually, the suicide cases, every jiva has a choice, free will. Everyone has a free will to walk the right path or the wrong path. Similarly, the desire to commit suicide is actually an individual's choice, and those people who commit suicide, they become a ghost. They become a ghost for some period of time. So they wander. That means ghost means what? Without gross body. They have only subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego. And then they wander for a while like that. And then later on they will be given awarded the next body. So that is actually not God. God will never make anyone commit suicide. It's individual's choice. Yeah. Similarly, somebody is dying in an accident, car accident or any type of particular type of accident actually means he has a very, very bad karmic account of the past. Like he must have killed a cow in the previous life. So the next life then he has to be killed in an accident. Because he took away the life of an animal unnecessarily, then he will have to suffer in the next life. Yeah. Next.
In which dimension our soul lives? Does our body live in different dimension and soul in different dimension controlling our body?
Actually, there are 10 life airs, out of which 5 are prominent. Those life airs are in equilibrium, prana, pana, vyana, udana, samana, in the region of the heart. And because all those airs are in equilibrium, the Atma lives in that place, residence. But Atma is spiritual and body is material, as I told you before. He resides in the body. Even all of you know very well, the blood is pumped from the heart to all the parts of the body. It is actually the energy, prime mover in the body, the heart. And that is the reason in which the Atma lives. Yeah. And at the time of death, the Atma quits the body and goes to another body. And just like you all change your dress. Today you are wearing one dress today. Tomorrow you will leave this dress and wear another one. Like that the soul leaves this body and accepts another one. Yeah. Thank you. Next.
Next question. Is soul an atom?
Is a soul?
An atom?
No. It's a soul is having a form. Just like you all have a beautiful form. The soul also has a form. But now the beautiful form is shrunk like an atom.
Like an atom.
At the moment now. Because right now the soul is in a sleeping state in the sense that we have forgotten I am not the body, I am the soul. Therefore the soul is in a shrunk state now. Sankuchit we call it. But if you take to Bhagavad Gita study, just like a person wakes up in the morning, you come out of the blanket stretching your hands and legs, like that the soul will be expanded to his full blown form, which is also a beautiful form like what you all have now. You have a body now. Right now your body is made up of matter. But the soul's body is a similar type of body but made up of spirit. Satchidananda Vigraha. It's spiritual substance. Yeah. It has a.
Two, three students have asked more on what is subtle body.
Yeah,
can you explain?
Yeah, subtle body means linga sharira, we call it, mind, intelligence and ego. Just like in a computer you have hardware, but inside the computer you have a hard disk in which you store the softwares, isn't it? Subtle body is like that. The mind is like a hard disk which stores your apurna ichchayam, that desires which are not yet fulfilled, purva anubhav, your previous experiences, your likes and dislikes, your pleasures and pains, your memories, they are all stored in your mind. And the intelligence is actually a decision maker. Intelligence is a decision maker, which, like I told you yesterday, intelligence, mind and senses can be compared to husband, wife and children. Like that. The wife can, whenever the children demand something to the lady consults her husband for money and other things. Similarly, the intelligence is decision maker, superior to mind, like the driver of a chariot. And the mind is like the ropes and the senses are like the horses. So, why it's called subtle body, you can't perceive the mind and intelligence and ego very quickly with your eyes as much as you can see your hand or legs. It is subtler. Yeah. At the time of death, the gross body is lying down and the Atma covered by the subtle body comes out. And whatever unfulfilled desires are there, accordingly the Atma will enter into next body. For example, if somebody has a certain type of desire, those desires are stored in the mind. According to his good karma, bad karma, he will enter into a body to give shape to those desires which he has not yet fulfilled. They are waiting to be fulfilled. So he will go into another body to fulfill those desires. Is that clear? Okay, next.
Guruji, please tell us which or what knowledge will we get after reading and understanding Bhagavad Gita?
Yeah. Actually, after reading and understanding Bhagavad Gita, it's like switching on a tube light in a dark room. If you are living in a dark room, you are actually afraid. Maybe some snakes may be there, maybe some scorpions may be there. You are afraid. But when you switch on the light, you have no more fear. You can see things as they are. Similarly, modern man is living in the modern day world. He is polluting the environment. He is also exploiting. There are gang rapes going on. There are wars going on. The criminalism going on. Corruption going on. Robbery going on. Why? Because people are in darkness. They are hurting themselves and hurting one another. Do you want to continue live life in such a world like this? Or you want to switch on the tube light in a dark room and see things as they are? See everybody as your brother and sister. See that one supreme God who is governing this world. And understand what is the goal of life, meaning of life, purpose of life. Just like, can you play a football match where there are no goalposts on either side? Will any of you play such a match? Imagine I tell you, you can run as long as you want on either side. That's the way the football match is. If I tell you, is it not ridiculous? Modern man is living a life without knowing the goal of life. Bhagavad Gita will teach you the goal of life. The goal of life is to purify the unclean heart. And the goal of life is to go back to our original place from where we have come. We will learn more about it. So Bhagavad Gita will teach you how to live a happy life in this world. It will also teach you to attain the best destination beyond death also. Yeah. Next.
In Gita, Krishna says that one should not sleep more or less. What is the correct amount of sleep?
6 hours in the night. Try to sleep at 9:30, get up at 3:30, 4 o'clock. 6.5, maximum 7 hours. That's good enough. Yeah.
How to experience inner consciousness? I try to experience it, but I am not able to do so. Kindly guide.
Yeah. Actually, how do you know you are conscious? You pinch yourself, you can see you are conscious. When it is cold, you cover yourself with a blanket. When it is hot, you remove your shirt and sit under a fan. So you are conscious that your body is conscious, certainly. But in order for you to do meditation, probably you are talking about meditation. For that, the easiest method is the chanting, which I generally do every day with a mala. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. This is the method. This is called mantra meditation. Very powerful method. You have to just chant like this and hear it. 108 times you do. It will take you just 10 minutes only. And do it and see. You will begin with experiencing peace, and eventually you will experience happiness. And the consciousness will become fully awakened. Thank you. Next.
Where does soul go? How does karma get calculated?
Yeah. Actually, for calculating your karma, it's not very difficult for God. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Just like, I'll tell you a simple example. You have your mobile, and if your charges that you paid for the mobile are over, don't you get an intimation? And if you don't pay the amount, they will cut the facility. Even in this world, crores of mobiles are controlled by one company. Well, what is the difficulty for God to keep track of your karmic account? The good and bad that you do. He is the father of millions of jivas. We can very easily do that. So for every action we do, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So the karma, I'll show you one little video in this connection. You can see. You're showing? See, this fellow is going in a car. He is hitting the other car and creating a dent in the car. See, the karma has captured him. Cheater. Because of cheating. Vandal. See, this karma is increasing more and more. Killer. See, all of them jumping now, all the karma. One, two, three. Yes. You all saw that, no? You got an idea how the karma works. Huh? Every small action we do, we may not even know. Huh? Actually, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna also teaches how to go beyond all this small and big karmic reactions that we get. Actually, the more you study Gita and attend these classes, you become very conscious and careful. In not crushing a bug under your feet, not kicking a dog, or not be unconscious. Actually, we teach personal values, interpersonal values, social values, and spiritual values. All are a part of the training program. So, how you treat nature, how you treat the people around you, how you treat God, how you treat the animals, how you treat the trees, all that matters. So, I can take one question. I have 3 minutes. Any other question? Antadipu?
Yes, please. Directly or indirectly, we commit mistakes, and soul in the end gets in another body. So, when will our soul become free from the cycle?
Good question. Actually, Lord Krishna says, when we learn the art of working on God's account, as per His laws, what is right, what is wrong. Tasmat Shastra Pramanam Te Karya Akarya Vyavastitau. He says in Bhagavad Gita, what is to be done, what is not to be done, he is teaching. If you act according to that, then you become free from all karma bandhana, all bondage in this world. And then we go back to Godhead, from where we came. So, and also in the last verse, Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchah. Arjuna, you surrender to me, Krishna says, mam ekam sharanam braja, and act according to my order, then your life will be perfect. And I will destroy all your sinful reactions. He says that. Just like, for example, if somebody is fighting for India, in India-Pakistan war, for example, when they may be shooting and killing so many people in the battle, when they come back, they are given Paramvir Chakra, because they are fighting on the government's account, an Indian government's account, isn't it? On the other hand, if the same soldier goes home after retirement, he takes the same gun and shoots his neighbor. For that, he'll be put behind the bars because he's doing it on his own account. So, therefore, Lord Krishna says that anything you do in this world, you should do as per God's direction in the scriptures. And that's the way to become free from all the karmic account. Yeah, one last question. I have 1 minute. Antardeep Prabhu?
Does that mean when more bad karma comes, it leads to death?
No, it's not like more bad karma, it leads to death. He killed, like he killed the bug, he hit the dog, so he kept on accumulating bad karma, isn't it? Yeah. Actually, whoever has taken the material body in this world, they have to leave the material body sometime or other. Because jatasya ki dhruvam mrityur, dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Krishna is saying that. Like, there is an expiry date put on everybody's body. Somebody expires at the age of 30, 40. Somebody expires at the age of 70, 80. But the body is a perishable commodity, which is actually like a car in which we all are sitting inside this bodily car. We are actually different from the body. If you do punya, good activities in this world, you get a handsome body, you get good education, you are born in a good family, you have a healthy body, and you have enough money and all that. If you do bad karmic reactions, then we get ugly looking body, we are born in a slum, we get diseased body, we have no education, we are illiterates, and we suffer from various diseases and all that. But if you work on God's account, you neither get a handsome body or ugly body. The Atma goes back to the original home from where we have come, about which we will discuss in a future session. And then there is no more, in that world, nobody gets old, nobody gets disease, nobody dies, nobody suffers from any kind of ailment. That is actually, therefore we say, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya, which means we will go to the world where there is no Mrityu there. Only the Mrityu is there in this world for the material body. The soul doesn't die at all. And we will learn that as we go ahead. Yassa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. Krishna says, when everything in this world is destroyed at the time of pralaya, cosmic annihilation, in that world nothing is destroyed. That's a permanent world, eternal world, ever existing world, immortal world, imperishable world, a joyful world. So we will learn about that in one of the future sessions. Okay? So thank you all very much for your very, very brilliant questions and thoughtful questions. And I look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow. And we are having this program on Friday, Saturday, Sunday for 3 weekends. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like that in 3 weekends. Today is the second session. Tomorrow I'll do the third session. And after that, next week again, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'll be gathering together again for this. And the quizzes are made very interesting. I hope some of you came at 6 to 6:30, you did it. If you didn't come, I think you can solve it even now. You can do that. And based on the lecture I gave today, there will be quiz tomorrow. So between 6 to 6:30, very interesting quiz. So you all are welcome to join. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare.